Yeah, 3-1 series leads are scary for Leafs fans, which is probably not something that Tampa Bay Lightning fans ever have to say. And, well, they don't have to worry about 3-1 leads, apparently, because they just win 4-0 these days.
Oh, my God. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win the cup again, aren't they?
I kind of want them to at this point. I kind of do. I love seeing greatness. Like, that would be the first time in the Cap era teams won 3 straight. They would cement themselves as like an all-time team.
Did you see Florida losing this series, and did you see them losing in 4?
Yes and no. I didn't think it was going to be in 4. I thought they would lose, but I thought just because of the rivalry, you got to have something about you to win at least a couple of games against your biggest rival in the league. The Panthers were also very good this year. I thought they'd at least push it to 6, if not 7, and they got embarrassed.
Yeah, embarrassed is an understatement. Like, look, the Florida Panthers may as well be called the Florida Maple Leafs. A, because that's where all the Leafs end up after round 1, and B, because Florida cannot get it done when it matters most. But they have one of the best teams in the league on paper. They win the President's Trophy so often. And yeah, fine, they won round 1, but probably to the worst team in the playoffs. And they won that series in the most unconvincing way I have ever seen. They had to let Carter Vernegy score almost all of their goals. They won in Game 6 in overtime. And by the way, if they didn't win in overtime in Game 6, they would have lost that series.
Yeah, that would have been like a pretty crazy thing. But I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, like, look, Tampa is better everywhere, especially in net. Vasilevsky had a 980 save percentage.
He was so good
in this series. And the Panthers were trying to move Sergei Bobrovsky all year, but no one wanted him because he's bad, and he makes what, like $10 million a year?
Million.
Like, they're better offensively, they're better defensively, they're better in the net. And just like we said in Calgary, when your biggest players don't come to play, I don't care if you won a President's Trophy, you cannot rely on secondary scoring in the second round, and especially against the back-to-back Cup champions. I don't have the numbers on it, but Giroux, Barkov, and Huberdeau were bad.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they scored 3 goals in 4 games as a team, so something tells me that the Stars weren't good.
I think Huberdeau had 2 points in the entire series. Like, that might not... I believe that's what I saw on Twitter, but you cannot have an arguably Hart Trophy candidate go that dry in the playoffs, and when they do, you're going to lose. Like, you pay the big players big money because you cannot afford for them to lose. You cannot afford for them to not show up. And I mean, the Florida Panthers players just, not showing up was an understatement.
Yeah, and I think maybe as a sort of a way to maybe cut them some slack, I don't think you can get any slack for getting swept, but Vasilevsky said in 981, he faced, I think it was, I have it here, 3.46 expected goals per game.
That's high, isn't it?
And that's pretty high. It means that Florida was expected to score about 3.5 goals every game this series on average, and he led in 3 all series. So he was saving almost 2.5 goals above expected per game.
Wow.
Which is what a 981 save percentage gets you. He is probably now going to go down already, but if they win this cup, one of the best goalies of all time.
Andrei Vasilevsky?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, I think he's in everybody's top 7 right now.
He's definitely going to be. If he isn't already, I think he has to be. And rightfully so. Like, hockey fans love to reference guys who get it done in the playoffs, guys who come up in big moments. I'm sure anybody listening has seen these stats about him in closing games. He doesn't let in goals.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I just don't know how. He's human. He's so good. They got him the 21st overall. So 20 teams that passed on him. What a pick. And what a freaking goalie. Another Russian, Nikita Kucherov, actually looked like himself again against the Leafs. A lot of talk about him not looking very good. I think he was struggling with injury and sickness at the time. So, fair. But 7 points in 4 games. He dummied Aaron Ekblad in the first game. That set the tone for what was going to be just a killing job by the by the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Maybe that's why Ekblad was so invisible all series. He was probably still looking for his jockstrap in the rafters after that move.
Because there's no fans in the upper bowl to find it for him. So
Just
he had to go up and get it himself.
Just tell Kodak to throw it down. He's probably up there somewhere.
Kodak would probably use it.
Like when I break down this series, give credit to Florida. They were generating chances. Like everything was when you see goals for, like you said, it's all so similar. It just comes down to them not being able to score. But we see this time and time again in the playoffs. It is written on the wall. Any person that understands hockey understands the cliche. The truest cliche in NHL history is that you need to build a championship hockey team from the back up, because come playoff time, goals go away. There's no space. There's just no space. I think Florida scored the most goals out of any team ever in this.
They had a record-setting season in terms of like the modern era of goal scoring. Yeah.
Yes, but even players on the 8th place team coming into the playoffs are National League hockey players. They're the best players in the world. They understand how to provide lockdown defense, and you see this time and time again that teams that do not rely on defense and goaltending struggle, because as soon as that offense goes away, which it did for Florida, they have nothing to fall back on. You made a great point where you said that, or maybe it was Anthony in our first interview, where he said the Tampa Bay Lightning can beat you in so many ways.
Yeah, it was Anthony who said that.
If they don't score, their defense is shut down, and if their defense isn't great, Andrei Vasilevsky's not going to give up more than 2, right? If the Florida Panthers don't win 6-5, they're losing 5-1.
Yeah, they can't defend.
Right? And regardless of how well they played in this series, it was an anomaly because defensively they are just not good enough. And the perfect example of offense drying up for this team, which happens in the playoffs, is their power play was maybe the most abysmal thing I've ever seen in my life.
What did they score? 1 all 2 rounds?
A first-line power play with Giroux, Barkov, Huberdeau, Aaron Ekblad, and one more player I don't know, goes 1 for 22 on the power play in 2 series.
That's brutal.
Right? Is that Andrew Burnett's fault? Because he talked about that after the series where he said, that's going to cause me many sleepless nights. I probably should have been better, and I probably should have changed up the power play mechanics. But if I'm Andrew Burnett and I see the first-line power play that I'm fielding, do you not have to think, like, don't change anything because at some point these guys have to start scoring?
I think there's a point. Yeah, it's a tough one because you have your 5 best players on the ice. They got to figure it out. Maybe I don't know, but I think there is a responsibility on the players to figure it out, regardless of what sort of system you're running on the power play. You're all really good players, couple of 100-point players. You got to find a way to score.
Yeah, we've said this all the time. I don't think there's been a team that has won the Stanley Cup past the Crosby Pittsburgh Penguins that weren't built from the backup. Time and time again, we see it every single year. And then when you put a team built from the backup with an offensively prolific team like the Tampa Bay Lightning are, no wonder they're going to win 3 cups in a row. But if you ask me, I am taking any team built with a top 5 goaltender in the league and an above average defensive core with a team that doesn't score much over the Florida Panthers that score 7 goals a game. Because when stuff hits the fan in the playoffs, you can win games playing well defensively.
Yeah.
Right? Look what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing right now, which we'll move into soon. When you run into a Vezina winning goalie, the only chance you have to win is you need to shut down defensively and hope to God that you score 1 goal and win 1-0 or win 2-1. The Florida Panthers do not rely on that because Sergei Bobrovsky's a sieve.
Yeah, he is a bit of a sieve. He wasn't even terrible, but if in a series like this, if you're not going to be Vasilevsky, you're gonna get outdueled. And now this Tampa team goes into the conference finals with rest, which is huge for them because they haven't had much rest in the past 3 years. If Point comes back, that's a huge problem for whoever they're playing. This team's just remarkable.